Vincent.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. We bumped into each other very briefly on the streets of Edinburgh yesterday, and now we're jumping straight into conversation on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me. I have a little tradition when I start these conversations.
Okay.
If you don't, it's really simple. Don't look too scared. All we do is 3, 2, 1, and then we clap, and then we begin.
Okay.
So you ready to join?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Nice. There we go.
Here we are.
And we're in. So you've just finished a show.
Yes.
And I said, how did you do? And you went, it was interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't eat before my show, so I have to starve myself in a sense, or else I can't perform. And each show is a little different. It's the end of the Fringe, so I went to go see a show earlier, which I usually don't do. I saw a show at 9:50 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
My show's at 12:15. So I got here and I got my table set up before the other show finishes, so I can just bring the table in because I have my art supplies.
Mm-hmm.
So I was busy doing that and getting set up. And
do you find that the headspace? So I'm a performer as well. Yeah. Spent my whole life in theatre, and I find my headspace and my stomach are both terrible before a show.
Yeah.
I can't. I know what I need to be concentrating on anything, but I can't deal with anything external. Like if I've got 2 children, they're both teenagers now. If they come to me with something, I can't quite cope with it. I just can't figure out the best way to deal with the most simple things.
Yeah.
Do you find something similar as well?
Oh yeah, of course. Listen, just like sports or anything, you're trained to go perform something or do something, and you have to have the headspace for that. Mm-hmm. I think the Fringe teaches artists and taught me that you just have to do it sometimes. There is, and with kids, you realize there is no fucking, there's no, with kids, you realize there is no planning. No. Things will be immediately thrust upon you as life is. Mm-hmm. And so the Fringe is such an event like that, that you either embrace it or you fight it. Mm-hmm. And I think fighting it is no good. I had a show earlier in the run, and there were some kids in there, and I tried to push through without maybe acknowledging them as much as I maybe could have. And I thought about it later. But every performance is different, and
you're learning.
Learning.
You may not have in the moment dealt with that and feel like you dealt with that the best way, but the next time that scenario comes across, maybe you can relate back to that moment today and go, oh, this is how I could have dealt with this better for now. Yeah,
it's all about that. It's all, and then sometimes when you're really in the zone, you don't even know what you're doing. It's all just perfectly wonderful, and that's what we strive to be, is to be out of our heads and not even really be thinking, but just doing it. So I was a little in my head today, only because people weren't drawing. It took me kind of a shock, because usually everybody's drawing, and I'm going over the story, but everybody was not drawing, and they were just staring at me.
They were wanting something different.
I don't know. Every audience is different. I don't know, but like, you still got to do the story and do it, And listen, it's always wonderful if you cannot be in your head, And that's with the drawing and stuff. At least for me, like, I could go back into my drawing, and just the words can come, and I don't really have to engage all the time. Sometimes I do, but I can also have this drawing to run into and get back into your shoes again. So it's a nice way to drop back into your scene.
So tell me a little bit about your show then. How is your show? I haven't had a chance to see it because, as we this Fringe is so busy and so packed with so much going on, and you're getting pulled about here, there, and everywhere. And I'm trying to do my best to see as much as I can. But I'm leaving today, and so this is my last interview of the Fringe, which is really nice. So tell me a little bit about how your show is different. You talked to me a little bit there about you try and get the audience to engage and do some artwork with you.
Yeah, so basically it's Vincent van Gogh's story, and a lot of people don't realize that he did the masterpieces in 1 hour. So I try to get people to draw just for like 3 minutes to let go and tap into the pureness that we all have, like a child when he draws or she draws. doesn't have the judgment yet until they've grown up in a society where you get judged, and then people second guess themselves. So I try to create this little space where everybody has this support. Because for Vincent, it was Theo. Theo was his support. So at the table, we can all draw, and we all say, no judgment on the count of 3. And then if judgment comes, we take a breath. So then I say, everybody take a breath. And then we begin. And the art happens, and the story happens. So I color in my life story as we color in the paintings. Because the art session, the little sketch, is only like 3 minutes, just to get out of your head and draw. And then the story unfolds, and some great art happens. It's some great artists come, because Vincent, you know, everybody's like, you know, out on the mile, you're flyering. Vincent has been flyering for me for 130 years. You know, like people who know him, it's a genre, it's a niche. People who go to museums, read books, painters, artists, they have a connection with Vincent because he struggled, as we all do. And it's a universal story. Love, struggling, sticking with something, trusting your instincts. So these are in the show. Trust your instincts, the power of kindness, how we can help people. Yeah, so all of this is scattered through this
this 1 hour journey of someone. Is it a full life story?
Pretty much, yeah. I talk about the childhood and then the death, not in linear, but I mean, there's 3 hours of material. Like there's one story I never get to tell because there's no time. But when Vincent died in the hotel, Adeline Ravoux, her father owned a hotel, Mr. Ravoux. She was 13 years old, but she looked like a woman to Vincent, because back in those days, if you were 15, you're getting married, right? But she looked like a woman, and he explained, she's 13, she looks like a woman, and he asked Mr. Ravoux if he could paint her. So he did one painting, she sat for him, and he said she was a good model, and off of that one painting, he did a few more just off the painting, but she only sat for him once. She wrote a memoir when she was about 60 years old, or 70, I think. And she heard these stories for 30 years because her father would retell the stories in the hotel, because there was no Netflix, right? It was all
just a retelling of the stories.
Yeah, right around the campfire. So she heard these stories for 30 years, and so everybody's excited to talk to her because she lived with Van Gogh. So this woman arrives at the house, knocks on her door. She opens the door, and the reporter starts weeping because she sees Adeline. She's like, oh my God, it's you. And she starts weeping and crying. And Adeline is taken aback. She's like, I don't know who you are. How do you recognize me? And she says, I recognize you from the painting that Vincent has done of you. And she says, I never liked that painting. It didn't look like me. And the woman responds with, don't you realize he painted you as the woman you were going to become? And with that, basically, just because people can't see what you're doing doesn't mean it's wrong. You know, you might be ahead of your game. Express yourself, and people might not get it. And with Edinburgh, there's reviews. Everybody wants a review, you know, and some things aren't getting.
Yeah, they're not necessarily we're not necessarily in the right time for that thing right now, or necessarily in the right audience or in the right space, or some things just need a little bit of work or a little bit of direction. There's so much that we can add to the craft that maybe we do put far too much weight on the reviews, and I think we put even more significance than is necessary on the stars. I would like to see the stars disappear, to be honest with you. I would like to see, this is not the Olympics. You know, we're not handing out gold medals. And I do think there is a place for congratulations, and there is a place for well done and to support each other. But to be marking it out of a numerical system, I personally don't believe that's something that is really possible within creativity.
Yeah, no, it's a thing, and then the money thing gets in there too. And if you get the stars, you might get picked up, or you might get discovered, and so people are fighting to be discovered. And I mean, I've been doing this 10 years, and you know, I got an email the other day saying, "Do you want to go to Singapore?" Because of what I've done. So you just keep going, and the people you meet.
And the doors will open through doing the work, adding some stars to your poster.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to think.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. Like, it's also not about the money for me, even though it is.
We need. That's the thing as artists. We need money. Money is a fuel to keep us going to do the thing that we want to do. You know, we need to be able to put a roof over our head and food on the table.
Yeah.
And if we've got loved ones, we need to be able to support them as well. So we need the money to be able to do this, or it ends, doesn't it?
Yeah. But also, listen. I draw on the back of cardboard, and I use recycled paper, and if you don't have money, you find a way. As well. And so Edinburgh is really finding a way. Like, I think it's great for artists to not have a group and just do a solo show, live and die on your own. And find out what it's all about. Like, what can you handle, what can't you handle? Because you're going to cry. You're going to be tired. All of these things. You're going to miss shows. It's just a big soup. And it's a great experience. It's like 4 years of experience in 3 weeks.
And well, I've had that in 1 week. I've been here 1 week on my own doing this solo. And having a personal journey through being here. And it's been amazing. It really has. It's been. I was hoping to get something from this. And when I say something, I don't mean career progression. I mean something personally for me. And I got so much more. So much more. And there is something in that, in being on your own for a moment in time.
And everybody else is on their own too. It's like you get to, not everybody, obviously.
So we get these moments of connection as well. So we're on our own on this journey, and then we can pause for a minute, we can connect, we can take something from each other, and then move on again. Yeah,
and you could be talking to anybody. You could be talking to a superstar, and they're not like a superstar because they're just a person, but you might think they're a superstar, but then you get to hang out with them and you're just rubbing shoulders with another artist who you're equals now. So that really changes your game too, because you realize, you know, a lot of times you're like, oh, you're reaching for the stars, you're reaching for the whatever, fame or whatever. And then it's just the conversation really that brings you back to the humanity of it all. And the reason why we do this is to connect.
I actually said something on social media that was exactly that earlier today. It was a little post, I'm going to quote it wrong now, but it said that an artist was saying that the purpose for her was to put herself out there in the world, to connect and to find herself.
Well, that's the title of my show, Gogh Find Yourself. So it's in the doing, and it's in the selfless acts, it's in the not feeling good enough, it's in feeling good enough, it's in people saying you're great, and then, you know, this whole thing, you know, I felt like I belonged when I came here, because I didn't know if I belonged with the big boys, and then, or the big dogs, or whatever. It doesn't have to be boys, but just
I know what you mean by which community do you fit? Where does your artistry fit? And so, do you feel like you have found that with Edinburgh? I know that you promote the PBH Free Fringe quite heavily. You seem to be quite proud of that. Yeah,
I mean, what he's done is amazing. And with anything, there's nothing that's perfect. You know, because you know how if you're doing something and people say, hey, you know, if you did this, hey, you know what would be great if you did that? You could run a restaurant and people are going to tell you everything you need to do. You have a podcast, people are like, oh, you should get this. So people are always going to tell you what you could do. And the fact that they've been doing it for 28 years and as volunteer, and it goes against capitalistic stuff, like everybody, you know, the fact that they're volunteers, it's almost an impossible dream in a sense. And there's other free fringes as well, which there's a history between the fringes. And the fact that 28 years is great. And nothing's perfect. And people need to step in and step up. I hope this year I'm going to be able to, my life has become more, I would say, I have a foundation here in Edinburgh now. I was a little bit moving around and stuff, so I'm in a good place that I believe I can help the fringe as well. But and everybody's on these different levels as well. Some people can't help. So talent-wise as well, some people don't have it yet. But the Fringe will give it to you, you know, and it'll break you. I mean, it's the biggest and best. So if you're crying in a corner and it's raining, welcome to the club. It's like, I've done that.
But those moments of crying in the corner, those are the moments, the hardest moments. They're the moments that build you. They're the moments that create you. Whilst you're in it, it's shit. Once you're in it, it's the worst. And you may not see a way out. But when you do find that exit, you're something new, aren't you?
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways you can really cry. These guys, I don't know if you heard about the story, they I don't know if it was 5 or 6 people, but they gave this PR company like £10,000 or more. And they disappeared with all their money. And day one, they all had to do it all by themselves.
There to work it out. And sometimes I think moments like that can be a blessing.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds horrible. You know, they've been robbed.
Well, it breaks your spirit.
Breaks your spirit, breaks your heart.
Yeah.
But that rebuild, what would that give them?
Well, it's experience, you know. It's experience. I've been 10 years doing the Fringe. This is my 9th Fringe, so next year will be 10 Edinburgh Fringes. But yeah, it's experience, and you get stronger and stronger, and try to grow and debrief yourself and be better. Because everybody's doing their best, but we can learn from each other and help each other too. So, yeah, I think it's needed. You know, it's every experience is a blessing. It's hard to, you know.
It's hard to see it at the time, but the older that we get, the more. I mean, and it takes time to realise this, and a lot of hardship to realise this. But the more you've had to deal with, the easier it gets, and the more you learn, and the more you grow.
Yeah, and like you said, you can't see it, and that's where some of the reviews come in, or the audience reviews. Like people, like I sometimes read my reviews and I cry, and they're from audience reviews, and they're just so beautifully worded, and they're like, I can't believe this is so beautiful. And I was part of that by also trying not to control it. And the creative process is something you have to let go. And that's a constant thing of the Fringe. You have to let everything go. I don't know if anybody's coming to my show every day. It's a free show. There's people who paid £15,000 and they're checking ticket sales all day. How do you prepare to act?
To do the craft.
But that's part of the game too. And part of my ego wants the 250-seat theater. Sure I do. And hey, when it happens, it happens. I've done 250 seats, you know, but and got paid for it, and it's great. But the journey is quite lovely and challenging and unknown and needed. Yeah, you just have to embrace, I think, and learn.
So it sounds to me like there's so many lessons within your show, but there's also a lot that you want to give back outside of the show. You touched on briefly what you want to do next year.
Yeah.
What is it that you hope and dream for the future that you can contribute to this Fringe?
I want to run a venue. I want to create a space.
And what does that space look like?
Well, it's inclusive. It's artistic. It's kind of. Well, because I'm Van Gogh or whatever, like I believe the space would be Van Gogh-y, but also free Fringe, art, cabaret, magic, kids shows, and that's a whole new game too. Like if I was running a venue for 10 years, I'd be a different person. I wasn't running a venue for 10 years. I want to do it. So that's opening up a new experience, but I have friends who do it or done it, and I used to run a venue in New York. Not the same thing at all, but I want to run a venue and create a space. That's what I want.
And where does that come from? Does that come from having been here and been involved, and perhaps you've seen some of there are going to have been some failures within the Fringe and what you see here. Are you trying to make a positive change, a positive difference here?
I don't really go around and say, oh, that's shit, or judgmental. I mean, you try to pick up on little things. I
guess it doesn't have to be a failure for it to have the need to grow as well. You know, it could take on a new shape. You know, I've had an amazing time here. Yeah. And I think this is a wonderful thing and a wonderful place. I've heard some other people maybe be a little bit negative, but I think that there are many different reasons why something can grow and take a new.
Yeah. Well, basically, I've always seen these things like Canada Hub, Australia, they have a little hub, or there's the Dance Hub, and certain countries that come, they have a little hub, and they showcase that. And so I want it to be a hub, and because I'm from New York, I always thought having a New York hub or a United States hub, but you know, I still don't want to exclude, you know, so I want a place where, I don't know, people can connect and have, and maybe program. Well, I guess with the Free Fringe, you really can't program, but you can, in a sense. There's children's shows, there's storytelling, there's magic, there's cabaret, and certain places are built for cabaret, or magic, or children's shows. And so, yeah, I could curate this venue. I would like to have children's shows, a community and place for the kids, and also art and storytelling, and in the later evenings, adult stuff too. And why not? It's all here.
And it kind of, I agree that I felt like I've been thinking something similar.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is something missing where people are not necessarily coming together. Everyone's out there on the street and they come together naturally.
Yeah.
But there isn't a central point that people are feeding into and then back out again.
Yeah.
Other than the natural progression. So wouldn't it be great, and how beneficial would that be to artists to have a place where they can come together as a collective?
Well, listen, it has to happen, and it does happen.
Yeah, like I said, it's happening naturally.
Yeah.
But what if we can channel that?
Yeah, well, I've seen it. Like, there's one of the spots that I always love to go is the Blunderbuss. It's not here this year because they're not coming this year. Edinburgh came too much. They have some other festivals, but they created a space that was inclusive and funny shows, and I would just go and hang out there. After I was walking around, we'd pop in there, and there was always some people in that space. So when you create the space, you're creating a scene in a sense, or I don't know what words to use, but it's safe. It's inspiring. The artists know to come there because they feel good, and feel good. I want people to feel good.
I guess what is the purpose of this if we don't in some way? Isn't that what this is kind of all about?
Yeah,
making like community, making life good, making it enjoyable for all.
Yeah. Because everything is like, you know, you go over your mind and you're trying to, how can I change? How can I change? And I had this idea, which doesn't really make sense at all, but I wanted to ask, you know, the audience, like, is anybody hungry? Like, who asks them if they need anything? Because, you know, they're coming to your show or whatever. And my show's about Van Gogh, so it's this other thing. Vincent was very giving, and he sacrificed for others. And there's something that happens when you offer. And that's why I have art supplies, you know? And sometimes in my adult brain, I think, people know to give 20 pounds because of all the art supplies and all the work. But they don't. And you have to do your bucket speech and try to get the money from them and whatever. And but most of all, I want to create a space. So that's what I do with my show. I create a safe space to create. And I would like to
widen that.
Yeah.
Make that bigger.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that you've got the power to do.
Yeah.
I honestly do. I've only sit down here talking to you for 10 minutes. And
thanks.
Listening to your history and where you've been and your passion for this.
Yeah.
I think this is the start of a new chapter for you.
Yeah.
As we come to the end, because we're coming to the end of this year's Fringe. What have we got, 3 or 4 days left now?
Yeah.
How does that feel coming to the end of this year?
Oh, yeah, is there only one more show? Is it tomorrow, Sunday? When is today?
We've got Saturday to Friday today.
Today's the 23rd.
It better be. My plane's today, so I better not got the date wrong.
Yeah, what time is your flight?
10 o'clock.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so in one more show.
Good.
Catching up with an old friend.
What are you going to see?
The improv musical comedy.
Oh, nice.
I thought I'd leave on a fun note.
Nice. And do you perform at all?
I perform. My performing days, I feel, are slightly behind me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little bit of a backstory, my prologue. I feel like this is what I do now.
Yeah.
I'm quite at peace with that. I wasn't at peace with that for a while.
Yeah.
I was that struggling artist for 20 years, hitting my head against a brick wall, couldn't figure out how to make it work. And then got lost, and then refound myself in what I'm doing now. And Maybe I might go back to performing at some point, because that's the beauty of the arts.
It's there.
Like, it's there.
Riding a bike.
Yeah, it's never going away.
Yeah.
And maybe I can find some way to add that into this. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you're doing it now, anyways. You're not afraid to talk or express yourself. So. In some ways, that's connected to that. But when I was an actor, I was afraid to talk. Oh yeah.
You know,
it took me years. Yeah.
When I was an actor, I could only do things. If you gave me a script, I was fine.
Yeah.
But if someone sat me down like I'm doing this with you now, I'd be like, I can't be me, because that could damage my career. You know, I was afraid to use my voice.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to find it.
Yeah, I understand that totally. Because you're always going on auditions, pick me, but you're trying to be somebody else. And who am I? Now, which is the greatest thing for acting for me, because if I don't know who I am, I can't play anybody else. So it was really a search for me.
And that's interesting as well, because even though I've stepped away from acting a bit, I feel like if I did step into it, I would be a better actor now. Yeah. Because I know who I am, and I know where I would find myself within the part, rather than the part in me.
Yeah.
And it's transformative, isn't it? Finding yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much peace that comes with that, I find.
Yeah. And with the Fringe madness, we have to find peace. And I just have to let a lot of things go. Just have to let a lot of things go. I don't have a PR person. I don't have money for all of that. I don't have a team. And the stuff that I see on the street when I'm walking, it's amazing. I should have a camera crew following me. Like, everybody, I have the leather jacket. It's not on here, but people want to sign my jacket. And it's just the crazy stuff of the Fringe. I think next year I'm going to have to get a camera crew or something. But every year is like that. It's just amazing. And then I don't post anything. No. So then I'm like, no.
But do you have to post? So me with this, I am posting as much as I can, because that's part of my journey, is sharing. But for you, you don't have to post everything. No. You don't have to document your whole life. Some of it, that amazing moments, can be just for you.
True. But I also think, it would be nice to document your show and her show and this conversation I had. He's doing a show here. And then this person, you got to go see this person. And then, there's such backstory to each person in the scene of Edinburgh.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. That's exactly what I'm trying to do with this.
So I could do a little post.
But you could be doing that. You could be doing the same, and with your experience and your history to that, you could add so much to that conversation. Yeah.
But I'm not good at it. I need somebody.
What bit would you say you're not good at? The technical side.
At the moment, I just don't have the headspace. But if I had somebody, I would say, here's all my photos. It's on the drive. Post something, and then. If they would try to post, I go, actually, put the show in there and use the hashtag. Because I used to be all the hashtags and ats, and I was all over that. And then recently I've had a couple rough couple of years, and I don't have the headspace to do that. Usually I'll do
it takes so much work to do all the social media stuff, and so much time. And the game of social media is constantly changing and evolving. Yeah. So there's a thing now with social media that people... I'm going to say normal people, just general people in the world, don't realise that organic social media doesn't exist anymore. It's all about paid promotion. So the system will give you an opportunity to start to be found. And as soon as you're moving forward, they're like drug dealers.
Yeah, they give you the
dopamine hit for free. Here's a bit more, here's a bit more, here's a bit more. Oh, you're enjoying them likes, you're enjoying them views. Hold on a second, you want to boost it now. Now we want £25 if you want more dopamine hits. Now we want £50. Now we want £500. And social media companies are becoming the drug dealers of today. It's so it's a tough thing. But I'm moaning about social media, but I also believe that if you put yourself out there in the world, the right people will find you. So the system might be slightly broken out there within the social media, but just by putting 1 or 2 posts out there a day and showing yourself as visibly who you are, I think is enough to move forward. Yeah, no, it's I agree with you, and I just think if I fed my pictures to somebody else, that would help. Because we do need others, and it took me. I was very much in the same position of you when I started this. That I was like, when I started this, how can I do all of this, be out there and do all the stuff online. It was just all too much. But a year later, I've now got someone with me helping me.
Oh yeah.
And like I say, he came to me. He found me because I was already out there in the world.
Doing it. It's in the doing.
It's in the doing.
Yeah, that's one of Vincent's quotes as well. Because he knew he had to overcome drawing, and he never drew like everybody else. But in the doing, you find it. Just keep doing. Just keep doing.
Just keep doing. What a wonderful note to kind of wrap this up on. I appreciate you so much for joining me for this conversation. So if anyone wants to find out more about you and your show, where do they find you?
Oh, Gogh Find Yourself. There's a QR code here.
We'll add links in the bottom of the description as well.
But yeah, Gogh Find Yourself is my Instagram. You can find me there, I think.
Good. And let's catch up again in the future, before the next
Where are you
Fringe.
going back home to?
I live in Essex.
Okay.
Not too far. It's only about 40-minute flight. It goes up and it comes back, and it comes back down again. It's so quick. But yeah, I would have loved to have stayed. I wish I'd have been here earlier. But like I say, it's actually been perfect.
Yeah.
Of what it has been. So.
Yeah, and you didn't get scammed.
And I didn't get scammed. No.
Which is horrible. It's such a horrible feeling to get robbed, and breaks your spirit. So.
But that's, and that's some. I've been meeting so many good people recently doing this within the creative world and putting myself out there, that every now and then I forget there are some bad people out there as well.
Yeah.
Because I've been meeting so many good people. And recently I did meet some bad people and had a situation that I had to deal with. And as I went in just like, oh, these will be nice people, because I'm meeting so many good people, because I just completely forgot they're out there. But they are. We have to stay aware.
Well, there's also people out there, if they see you having a good time, they want to crush it. Because their life was crushed. And it may not be their fault. People come from different places, and people from different places don't have the capability to do those certain things. So we're all different, but we do need to have patience and be aware. Everybody needs to be aware, and keep creating, I guess. Find your tribe.
Yeah.
Find your tribe.
Keep creating and find your tribe.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks,
Wonderful.
Martin.
Thanks again, Vince.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. And if anyone has been watching or listening and
Is
joining,
it live?
It's not live, but I always say in the
Okay.
end, I like to note that I appreciate the audience for joining us,
Thank you.
because they've taken the time to listen in. So, thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much. Very much appreciated.